Thank you Rebel Off-Road for the use of your fine facility to shoot this video. The Coyote Boltess Beadlock system allows you to easily negotiate soft sand, mud, and snow, plus extremely rocky and uneven traction-challenging terrain. Off-roaders know lower tire pressure means a larger, softer tire footprint, and this equates to better traction and easier going through rough terrain. But at low tire pressure, you always stand a chance of popping a tire bead off the rim. So you need a way to keep the rubber on the metal. Enter the remarkable Coyote Boltess Beadlock. Conceptually, Coyote Boltess Beadlocks are a tire within a tire. This tire within a tire locks, pinches both the inside and outside tire beads to any ordinary rim. In addition, and just as important, it also provides a 3-inch high, 50 PSI tire and rim protecting bump stop, even at a meager 3 PSI or less. There are many other advantages too. First, the system allows you to use your existing rims, saving you money. You don't have to buy new rims. There are no DOT issues. They are street legal. They lock both the inside and outside tire beads securely to the rim, as already mentioned. They can be used with your next set of tires or rims. And the tire and rim protecting bump stop needs mentioning again too. They are lighter than conventional beadlock rims. There are no balance issues. They can be easily balanced just like any standard wheel. Due to the beadlock occupying part of the tire air chamber, they take less time to air up and down. They have no bolt circle torque maintenance issues. Just check the tube pressure once in a while. They provide a limp flat capability so you can move to a safer spot to change your spare when you have tire problems. The Coyote Boltess Beadlocks sport a 5-year warranty. They are proudly made and supported in the USA. Are you an experienced tire technician? Save time and skip ahead. Just click right here. If not, let's continue. Before we show you how to install a Coyote Boltess Beadlock, let's identify all the components we'll use in this installation process. These components include the beadlock case, inner tube, powder bag, and air channel, plus your existing tire and rim. Any ordinary tire will work with Coyote Boltess Beadlocks. You may use standard or new rims. Any stock or aftermarket rim will work with a Coyote Boltess Beadlock system. The Coyote Boltess Beadlock system works with a steel rim, as we will do in this installation, or alloy rims. A Coyote Beadlock package contains all you need to make one installation per rim. The most important beadlock component is the beadlock case. It is the key to containing the inner tube and pinching the tire beads between the beadlock case beads and the rim's bead seating surface. The beadlock case is the most improved and critical part of the Coyote Boltess Beadlock system. It is now made with stronger materials and improved construction methods, all resulting in a stronger, more durable product. It consists of 4 parts. Since it's a mini tire, we give the various parts tire names. 1. There are 2 black PVC sidewalls. These are made of PVC twice as strong as the original beadlocks imported from Australia. 2. There are 2 beads. They use new sewing techniques, ensuring a stronger product. 3. There is the tread. It is now made from material 9 times stronger than the ones imported from Australia. The tread overlap uses new, stronger joining methods too. In the edge view, you can see just how much thicker the new, stronger tread webbing is. And 4, there is tread overlap. The importance of its added weight will come into play at installation. It will be used to counterbalance the weight of the 2 valve stems. More on that later. Each bag also contains an inner tube. The inner tube holds air within the beadlock case. This forces the beadlock case beads against the inside of the tire beads, pinching them securely against the rim's bead seating surface. Note that the inner tube has an all-thread valve stem. Since you basically have a tubeless wheel, you must seal both valve stems and their related holes. For the tube, first check for the small O-ring at the base of the tube valve stem. It seals the valve stem on the inside of the rim. The larger O-ring goes on the outside of the rim and supplements the inner seal. The cone washer goes next, cone side up, on the outside of the rim. It grasps, covers, and protects the large O-ring. It allows the nut to be tightened without damaging the O-ring. The nut screws down onto the cone washer to tightly clamp and securely seal both the inside and outside O-rings. The valve stem cap keeps the valve core clean, ensuring a clean air path for checking the pressure. This is how you'll tell the difference between the tire and the inner tube valve stems. Remember that. It's important because you never want to air down and up with that valve stem. You only want to use the air channel valve stem, not the inner tube valve stem. To make sure all the beadlock parts move smoothly into place as you finalize the installation, you will find a bag of powder. This acts as a lubricant between all the parts. Also found in the beadlock bag is the air channel. This patented air channel gets the air in and out of the tire's air chamber. Think of it like a snorkel between the outside world and the air chamber within. The metal valve stem is your outside world connection with the air channel. The air moves through a channel created within the black PVC channel by a flexible, non-collapsible plastic spacer within. It prevents the inner tube from clamping shut all parts of the air channel. The air channel's open ends up within the tire's chamber. The air channel allows the tire to freely breathe. Are you an experienced tire technician? Save time and skip ahead. Just click right here. If not, let's continue. To install your Coyote boltless beadlocks, you'll need specific tools. Although the Coyote boltless beadlocks can be installed using either a tire machine or hand tools, we will use hand tools for this video. However, we do recommend that a tire machine be used on 35-inch or larger tires. We'll divide the tools into categories. And as always, use those safety glasses. Tire changing tools. A dead blow, soft-faced hammer. This will minimize damaging your rim. 2 tire irons or spoons for prying the tire off and on the rim. And a bead breaking tool for breaking the tire beads off of the rim. The soapy water and brush are used for leak detection. The tire pressure gauge and valve core removal tools are for the obvious. Rim and tire modification tools. The center punch, small ball peen hammer, air grinder or electric drill, 1/8-inch pilot, and 5/16-inch drill bits, along with the 45-degree chamfer tool, have to do with making the hole in your rim for the inner tube valve stem. The 2-inch number 40 grit sanding drum used on either the drill motor or air grinder smooth the tire bead sharp edges to prevent them from damaging the inner tubes. The files are used to smooth a used rim's outer edge. Beadlock specific install tools. We'll tell you why we prefer a Windex-like product over conventional tire lube later on. The 3x4x5-inch wooden blocks are used to create a workspace between the rim and the tire. Arm guards or long-sleeved shirt protect your arms when working through this workspace. The 11 and 12 millimeter wrenches are used to tighten the inner tube and air channel valve stem nuts. If you install Coyote beadlocks professionally, you will eventually want to make a specialized air channel lifting tool similar to what's shown. To help you understand important terminology used in this video, let's review the anatomy of a basic rim and tire. Throughout this video, we will use the term rim to mean the metal part that receives the tire. The rubber part and the entire assembly we will call the wheel. Let's look at a basic rim first. Here is the front of a rim. It is the lug nut side. Here is the back side that faces the vehicle and brake area. This is the drop center of the rim. This smallest rim diameter area is what allows you to put a less than 15-inch ID tire bead be put on a greater than 15-inch diameter rim. Here are the rim's bead bumps. Here's both the inside and outside bead seating areas. Here's the rim's inside bead seating surface area. Here is the existing factory valve stem hole. The stock rubber valve stem is replaced by the patented air channel. Remove the stock valve stem. Most tire shops cut them out as shown. Your tire has a few parts that also need identifying. This is the tire's tread, sidewalls, and beads. Remove the valve core from the valve stem. Cut the valve core from the rim. This will be replaced by the air channel. Break both tire beads from their seats on the rim. Remove the outside tire bead. Remove the inside tire bead. If you are installing the Coyote beadlocks on used rims, you first need to properly prepare them. Preparation of used rims means cleaning the rim and removing 100% of all rough edges on its inner and outer edges. First, remove stickers and clean your used rims using soap and water or an industrial cleaner. Rough edges or burrs may cut into your inner tubes during installation. To remove any rough edges or rim burrs, smooth as necessary using a metal file. Finally, check your smoothing work for perfect smoothness. Save your hands by dragging a cloth over the freshly filed surfaces. With properly prepared new and used rims, determine the perfect inner tube valve stem hole location. This perfect location will most likely have to be adjusted to a more practical location later on. First, lay the rim flat on a workbench with the outside of the rim facing up. The factory valve stem hole will also be facing up. Now, put the inner tube on top of the rim with the valve stem facing up. Position the inner tube's valve stem 6 to 8 inches clockwise from the rim's factory valve stem hole. Now, pull the tube completely over the rim. Inflate the inner tube enough for it to take shape. While inflating, the valve stem will distort against the rim as shown here. This will not harm the inner tube's valve stem. Vertically center the inner tube on the rim as shown here. Mark the inner tube's valve stem location with an appropriate marker. This apparently perfect marked location needs to be carefully examined before drilling the hole for the inner tube's valve stem. Your marked location may not be practical, especially if you plan to have the inner tube's valve stem located inboard on the brake side of the rim. If the desired valve stem location is inboard, the location must be checked to ensure that it does not interfere with the brakes and associated components in and behind the rim. Also, the marked location must go through flat and parallel surfaces on the rim. This illustration shows a cross-section of a typical rim. Note the acceptable, possibly acceptable, and unacceptable areas for drilling your hole. Lastly, the rim must not be thicker than half an inch thick where you intend to drill the hole. If the rim is thicker, you will not be able to get a standard air chuck or most air gauges on the portion of valve stem that sticks out of the rim. Adjust the perfect hole location to accommodate all of the above. This typically means moving the mark slightly toward the outside of the rim and clockwise or counterclockwise to end up between a pair of the rim spokes. A little more or a little less than 6 to 8 inches away from the factory hole is okay. If your relocated inner tube valve stem hole is now appropriate, center punch as shown. Now, drill a pilot hole using your 1/8 inch drill bit. Take care to drill this hole perpendicular to the rim's surface. Next, enlarge the hole to 5/16 inch. Again, paying attention to the perpendicularity. Carefully chamfer both sides of the hole as shown. The chamfer face should be 0.04 to 0.06 inches wide maximum. If using the chamfer tool with an electric drill, be cautious not to make the chamfer face too wide. Too wide means that the O-ring at the base of the inner tube valve stem will not seat, thereby allowing air to leak. The Beadlock warranty does not cover improperly drilled or chamfered inner tube valve stem holes. Drill and chamfer very carefully. After completing all drilling and chamfering, clean all metal chips off the rim and other components. Chips left behind may cause inner tube failure. The inside edges of your tire's beads are very sharp. In addition, the large tire beads are usually too wide to fit fully behind the rim's bead bumps. This means they hang out over the bead bumps, capable of cutting the inner tubes. Sharp tire beads cut Coyote inner tubes. To eliminate this problem, you must slightly round the sharp edges of your tire beads. To round the sharp edges, Coyote Enterprises recommends using a number 40 grit 2-inch sanding drum on an electric drill or air grinder. Clean and remove all rubber grinding debris from within the tires and surrounding beadlock parts. With that done, coupled with the new Coyote heavy-duty inner tubes, failed tubes are a thing of the past. Using the powder provided, powder all beadlock parts. This allows the inner tube and other beadlock parts to easily move and properly align during the installation process. Use lots of powder on each beadlock component. If an additional powder is ever needed, you may use any bath, baby, or talcum powder, hydrated magnesium silicate that does not contain cornstarch. We show using a small mortar boat to contain excess powder, but the inside of the tire works equally well. Proper powdering of all the beadlock components means shaking lots of powder on each component, then spreading it evenly across all surfaces with your hands. Powder the inside of the beadlock case. Pay particular attention to powdering the inside and outside areas of the beadlock case beads. Next, powder the entire outside of the inner tube. This is best done with the tube lying completely flat, uninflated, and flipping it. The Coyote air channel has a metal valve stem at one end. Check that the rubber grommet of the air channel fits perfectly in your rim's factory valve stem hole. Temporarily and without force, hold an air channel up to and put it into the factory valve stem hole. Custom contour the air channel to the shape of the rim as shown. Check to see that the open air end of the air channel will reach past the anticipated location of the tire bead and beadlock case bead and up and into the tire's air chamber. Using a Windex-like product to help mount the inside tire bead in place of conventional tire mounting lubricants. Use of this product ensures that if re-wetted in actual use, the rim will not spin within the tire. Conventional tire lubricants are soap-based. Mount the inside of the tire bead using the drop center of the rim as normal. Once the inside tire bead is on the rim, elevate the tire with the wooden blocks. We'll use this well-used veteran to show how to use the spacer blocks. In this position, you'll get the tallest tire lift. Moved to this position, you get medium height. And in this position, you get the least lift. Position the blocks to achieve the height needed for the best work gap and access to the valve stem holes. By elevating the tire from underneath, a workspace is provided so you can work between the outside edge of the rim and the unmounted outside of the tire bead. Now, working through this workspace, mount the inside beadlock case bead, taking advantage of the rim's drop center, just as with the tire bead. But first, rotate the case until the tread overlap is opposite the two valve stem holes. Having the heavier tread overlap area directly opposite the valve stems will help compensate for the weight of the two valve stems. Before stuffing the inner tube into the beadlock case, check to make sure that the smaller inner O-ring is at the base of the tube valve stem. Next, lay the inner tube flat on the tire as shown, making sure that the inner tube's valve stem is pointing up. Before stuffing the inner tube completely into the beadlock case, push the inner tube's valve stem through your newly drilled hole in the rim. This may require changing the height of the blocks for free access to the rim's new valve stem hole. Once through the rim, install the larger O-ring on the inner tube valve stem and the cone washer cone up. Lastly, thread the nut halfway down the valve stem. Now, stuff the remainder of the inner tube inside the beadlock case. This may require slightly stretching the tube over the rim. Once mounted on the rim, Check and feel by hand that the inner tube is laying flat and smooth. Make sure that the inner tube has no folds, wrinkles, or twists. The inner tube's valve stem should also be relaxed and unstrained. As shown, mount the outside beadlock case bead over the rim. To achieve this, it will again be necessary to position the beadlock case bead in the drop center just as you did with the first tire bead. But in this case, you must now make sure that the bead is on the rim's drop center and not on the tube. If you are on the tube, you may pinch and cut it when forcing this bead over the outside edge of the rim. With the bead on the drop center, there is no chance of damaging the tube. You and your beadlock inner tube will be happy campers if you place the beadlock outer bead in the drop center and not on the tube either time. Do the same when placing the tire's outer bead over the rim. Remember that when we get to forcing the tire's outside bead over the outside rim. To install the Coyote air channel, either remove or reposition the spacing blocks as necessary for access to the factory valve stem hole. The tire must rest on the rim at a new height, whichever allows the easiest access to the rim's factory valve stem hole. Tilt the tire over the factory hole to where you can freely access it without stressing the inner tube valve stem. As shown, insert the pre-contoured air channel's valve stem into the factory rim hole. Ensure that the air channel's grommet seats properly into the rim's hole. This means that you can see a thin portion of the grommet fitting unwrinkled and completely into and through the factory rim hole. Wrinkles and bunches lead to tire air leaks. The open air end of the air channel should lie flat. Plus, it must point up and into the main air chamber of the tire as shown. Assuring again that the thin part of the valve stem grommet is properly seated into the factory valve stem hole, apply the washer, larger hole side down, toward rim and nut onto the air channel's valve stem as shown. Gently tighten the nut. As the beadlock inflates, an improperly placed beadlock bead, that is, when the bead is placed below and on the rim, will try to lift up and onto the air channel. This usually results in damaging the air channel. To avoid this, follow the next step. With the fully mounted beadlock, force your fingers down and under the outside beadlock bead. Once under that bead, lift it up and onto the metal valve stem end of the air channel. This may be a little bit tight. Consider making a specialized tool to ease grabbing and lifting the bead up and over the air channel. If you professionally install Coyote beadlocks, for sure you will want to fabricate a tool similar to this one. The end of the air channel closest to the metal valve stem will now be between the beadlock case bead and the tire bead. The open air end of the air channel will be snorkeled up and into the tire's air chamber. Begin to mount the outside tire bead as shown. Place the outside tire bead in the drop center of the rim opposite both valve stems. Make sure that the bead is not on or pinching the inner tube, as we showed when installing the beadlock's outer bead. This is not covered by the warranty. Mount the tire bead by beginning at the inner tube valve stem. Using the tire irons and avoiding pinching the tube, continuing the long way around clockwise to the air channel valve stem. Stop when the outside tire bead is about to drop over the rim just above the two valve stems. Support the tire to avoid stressing the air channel and inner tube valve stems as shown. Once supported, continue mounting the outside tire bead so that the bead finally drops onto the rim above both valve stems as shown. Now, tighten the inner tube's valve stem nut firmly. Tighten both inner tube and air channel's valve stem nuts as shown, but do not over tighten. Before popping the tire beads onto the rim, first lubricate both the inside and outside beads with a Windex-like product as shown. Now, inflate the inner tube to about 10 psi, or enough to gently push the tire beads out against and into air-holding contact with the rim. The inner tube will now have pushed the tire beads into full air-holding contact with the rim as shown. But stop inflating the tube now. Do not try to pop the tire beads onto the rim with the Beadlock inner tube. Reassuring adequate tire bead lubrication and using the air channel valve stem, pop or set both tire beads onto the rim. Relubricate as necessary. Do not exceed the maximum load rated pressure of the tire or the rim, whichever is lesser. After the tire beads are set on the rim, remove the valve core from the air channel and completely deflate the tire only. Next, fully inflate the Beadlock inner tube to 40 psi, which is what we recommend, or what you plan to run in the Beadlock. At 40 psi, there is room for thermal pressure increase. The maximum rated Beadlock pressure is 50 psi. Tighten the air channel valve stem nut as shown. Do not twist the air channel valve stem as you tighten the nut. Again, you can watch the valve stem core to see if the valve stem is twisting as you did with the inner tube. If either the inner tube or air channel valve stems appear to be twisting, you can hold them in place during tightening by using the extra inner tube valve stem nuts in a jam nut technique as shown. Inflate the tire to your desired pressure. In all cases, the tire pressure cannot be greater than the Beadlock pressure. Assuming that you inflate the Beadlock inner tube to the maximum of 50 psi, then the maximum tire pressure would be 45 psi. Put another way, the tire pressure must always be at least 5 psi less than the Beadlock pressure. If the tire pressure is greater than the Beadlock pressure, you will not be able to balance the wheel. That's because the higher tire pressure makes the Beadlock floppy, and the tire balancing machine cannot handle that dynamic weight movement. And just for your information, when it comes to airing down and back up, you're at a real advantage over those without Coyote boltless beadlocks. When you air down, you're actually airing down less volume since the beadlock occupies some of the tire's original airspace. So that takes less time. Same goes for airing back up. Less volume, less time. And regarding the all-thread beadlock valve stem, you always leave it at the same pressure. Just give it an occasional quick pressure check. Depress the air channel valve core for 5 seconds. Air should easily flow out of the tire. With the sound of airflow, you are assured that the patented air channel is working properly. If air does not continually flow out of the tire, The air channel must be checked for proper installation, and if necessary, reinstalled or replaced if damaged. With the Coyote Beadlock system and tire properly inflated, plus all valve cores and stem nuts tight, use a mild soap and water solution to check all tire beads and valve stems and cores for leaks. Like never before, you are ready to tackle traction-challenging terrain with your new Coyote Enterprise Boltess Beadlocks ready for action. Just air down with your Coyote automatic deflators and go. Coyote Enterprises would like to thank Rebel Off-Road for the use of their fine facilities for making this video. First and foremost, always have a way to air your tires back up to street pressure before you even consider airing down. With low tire pressure, your vehicle does not handle as expected or may damage your tires. This may cause an accident leading to injury or death. Only drive on the highway with your tires fully inflated to your vehicle or your tire manufacturer's recommended street pressure. Driving on the highway with underinflated tires is dangerous and potentially lethal. There are 5 reasons to air down. 1. Softer tires lead to less wheel spinning, trail abusing travel. Be nice to Mother Nature and air down. 2. Softer tires make for a more comfortable ride. Be nice to yourself and your passengers. Air down. 3. Softer tires are easier on your drivetrain. You don't bounce and spin your tire as much. This leads to less thrash and bash damage on your tires, suspension, transmission, transfer case, and U-joints. Your tires generally mold over the obstacles versus struggling to get up them. Be nice to your drivetrain and air down. 4. Softer tires make a bigger, softer footprint. This means that you can now float over that soft sand, mud, or snow rather than sink in and get stuck. It also gives you instant years of experience by letting the tires generally conform to the big rock or deep hole. This means that you easily crawl up and over instead of beating your way over the obstacle. And the 5th reason to air down, that's what the Coyote calls these pointed little devils, sometimes perfectly arranged to puncture your hard street pressure tires. Soft tires have a way of absorbing that little evil artifact rather than resisting it and resulting in a flat. And by the way, you'll find that 95% of your off-road flats occur on the back tires. That's because the fronts encounter a relatively flat-laying, non-tire damaging roadbed. But look out, backs. They see a churned up mess with the tire arrowheads eagerly waiting a chance to puncture your tires. Be nice to your tires and air down. Okay, so here's the traditional way to air down. As soon as you get to the trailhead, you're going to exit the vehicle and go around to each wheel, checking the pressure and manually, by hand, deflating the tire, checking and rechecking the air pressure to make sure that each wheel is specifically set to the pressure that you need for the trail. There's an easier way to do this though. The Coyote automatic tire deflators offer a no-brainer way to do it perfectly, every time with little energy. Use them and have coffee while your friends struggle with a traditional way. Once preset to your destination pressure, the Coyote automatic tire deflators will reliably deflate your tires to your destination pressure. Usually, by the time you've installed the 4th deflator, the 1st is ready for removal. So, why does she need this? Well, don't throw it away just yet. Keep it around for emergencies, like checking for leaky tires. But it's now a thing of the past come air down time. With little effort, you're ready to hit the trail in no time. As mentioned at the beginning, you must air up to the highway pressure before you leave the trail and hit the highway. Coyote automatic tire deflators are designed to ease your life, warranted for life under normal use. Try them. You'll love them.